Executive dysfunction sucks, but experiencing executive dysfunction does not mean that you suck. Struggling with your productivity is not some kind of moral failing or an indication that you're a bad person. More often than not, executive dysfunction is the result of your natural brain chemistry, especially if you have ADHD. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with what even is executive dysfunction. Hi, hello, my name is Megan and I am autistic and ADHD myself, and I am a life coach and content creator for other autistic and ADHD adults. Sometimes we call it auDHD. And today we're gonna talk about executive dysfunction. So let's dive into what that even is. In some ways, executive dysfunction is exactly what it sounds like. I want you to picture an executive, a CEO, sitting in their office. Now, I want you to picture every single thought, feeling, perception that you have throughout the day coming to this CEO in the form of an email or a memo, or maybe somebody just like standing in the doorway and hollering at them. Brains that don't deal with executive dysfunction very often have systems for all of that input. This CEO has calendars and email filters and maybe even a secretary to help them out. But if you have ADHD, your brain does not have those systems, which means your CEO is doing everything on the fly all the time. And not only is this exhausting for the CEO, it's also like not a great system. A lot of stuff is gonna slip through the cracks. Okay, I know that was very metaphorical, so let's talk about what executive dysfunction can look like in real life. The biggest one for me is one that's actually happening right now. It's leaving clothes in the washing machine after I've already washed them. And then they sit in the washing machine wet for like several days and they start to get stinky and I have to wash them again. Some other examples of executive dysfunction, some of which have also definitely happened to me, are maybe having a consistent fruit fly problem in your apartment because you tend to leave out food or forget to wash dishes. Another really common example of executive dysfunction is ordering takeout way more than you would like to because cooking requires way too many decisions and has entirely too many steps. Executive dysfunction can also look like when you want to do the thing, you are actively thinking about doing the thing and trying to, and you just can't, and you don't. It's literally like you're banging your head against a brick wall and you do not know what is happening, why the brick wall is there, or what you're supposed to do about it. Like you might be sitting in front of your computer with your email inbox open and you're staring at an email that you have to reply to today, and you just can't. And you can't do anything else either. So you're just staring at the email and it's like, what is happening? And one more way executive dysfunction can show up is doom scrolling. You might just be sitting on your couch refreshing the same 3 social media apps, bored out of your mind, wishing you could paint or read or do literally anything else, and you just can't. All of this is executive dysfunction. It is not laziness. It is not you being bad at being an adult. It is not any of that, okay? All that shamey bullshit, let that go because none of it's true. The truth is that brick wall that you're feeling between you and the task is real. It is a brick wall built by your brain chemistry. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist and I can't explain to you exactly why executive dysfunction happens, but I can tell you that it probably has something to do with dopamine. ADHDers have an atypical relationship with dopamine, meaning that we have an atypical relationship with motivation. Most ADHDers do not get a burst of dopamine when they accomplish something, which means that feedback loop that we're supposed to have where it's like you try hard, you succeed, you feel good about it. That makes you want to try hard again so that you succeed, so that you feel good about it. It becomes like this upward spiral. That is like almost impossible for ADHDers because we don't get that feel good about it feeling very often, which by the way is super unfair and annoying and evidence that ADHD truly is a disability because how fucked up is it to like work really hard on something and then feel nothing when you complete it? Another reason that executive dysfunction can happen is differences in our input and output filters. ADHD is called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but in reality, we just have trouble regulating our attention. Oftentimes, we're paying too much attention in a way. We can't filter out all of the input coming our way, right? Like I hear that truck across the street and I hear the crickets outside and I see my sweater over there and I see the puffball on my microphone and I can smell the candle in the next room, and all of it's like flooding me all the time. Going back to the CEO metaphor, we don't have a secretary making sure that random sensations and perceptions don't just like knock on our door or holler in our face. And finally, something that's actually not related to ADHD necessarily is stress. When you are stressed or overwhelmed, it becomes more difficult to make executive decisions and to focus. And I want to say that being stressed and overwhelmed right now is a pretty reasonable reaction to living under rising fascism and late-stage capitalism and patriarchy and all that other bullshit. You know you need to get shit done. You've been telling yourself that you need to be more productive for like, I don't know, a decade now, maybe longer, and it's just not happening. That's exactly why I made the Get Shit Done program. This is a 6-month group coaching program designed specifically for autistic, ADHD, and otherwise neurodivergent folks who want to be more productive without burning out. Each month, we will focus on a different facet of productivity, starting with setting goals that you actually want to achieve. Because it's one thing to tell yourself you need to get shit done, you need to be more productive, but like, what does that mean? What actually needs to happen? What specific tasks are you facing, and why are they giving you trouble? In the first month of the Get Shit Done program, we will break all of that down and learn to set goals that actually matter to you. Month 2 is all about self-love, or at least self-like. Month 3 is called Fuck the System, because frankly, I think it's irresponsible to run a productivity program in the year of our Lord 2025 without talking about the impact that white supremacy and capitalism and patriarchy has on our productivity. Month 4 is all about how to externalize your motivation so that you don't always have to rely on feeling like it in order to get stuff done. Month 5 is all about how to relax, because relaxation and productivity are opposite sides of the same coin. And finally, month 6 is all about how to continue making productivity progress even after this program ends. We meet twice a week, once for group coaching, where you can ask your questions and get advice and connect with the community, and once for skills calls, which is where I actually teach you all of the things I have learned over the years about executive dysfunction and productivity and how to get shit done. The cost for the program is $697, which if you break it down to 2 calls a week for 6 months comes out to $14 an hour. And if $14 an hour for life coaching seems pretty reasonable to you, but you still don't have that $697, payment plans are absolutely available. Currently, doors are closed for the Get Shit Done program, but they will reopen in mid-October, and our next cohort will start at the beginning of November. If you're anything like me, you're definitely gonna forget that, so go to the description below and get on the waitlist now. I also think it's important to recognize that executive dysfunction is not just about like planning and prioritization and being able to start stuff, although that is part of executive dysfunction. It turns out there are actually like 8-ish, it depends on who you talk to, 8-ish agreed upon executive functions, and all of them can go wrong and cause executive dysfunction. The ones we've kind of been talking about so far include task initiation, which is like getting started with stuff, planning and prioritization, which is like knowing what order in which to do things and how to do them, and organization, which is like sorting tasks and stuff into meaningful categories that help you. But executive functioning also includes emotional regulation, which is like your ability to feel your feelings without drowning in them, and impulse control, which is your ability to feel an impulse and then make an active choice about whether you want to act on it or not. A lot of ADHDers are not familiar with that concept because we feel an impulse and we just like, it's like the decision part gets cut out and it's just impulse action. There's also self-monitoring, which is like your awareness of yourself in time and space, but can also include emotional self-awareness as well. Then there's working memory, which is like your ability to hold information in your head while you're working with other information. So like, let's say you're gonna buy something online, so you glance at your credit card number and you try to remember it and then you go to enter it, but you get a really important email. So you answer the email real quick. With good working memory, you will be able to just store that credit card number for a second while you answer the email and then go back to the page where you're buying something and just enter the credit card number. If you're more like me and you don't have great working memory, you're absolutely gonna have to look at that credit card again. probably several times. And finally, there's flexible thinking, which is basically the opposite of all or nothing thinking. It's the ability to see nuance, to see the gray in life. So finally, what can we actually do about executive dysfunction? Like, do we have to just live like this forever with this brick wall in between us and what we want to do all the time? To a certain extent, yeah, it is going to be around forever. And I don't say that to make you feel hopeless. I say it because ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disability. It does not go away, and there is no quick fix. But I will say there are ways to work around the brick wall, or to slowly tear the brick wall down, or to climb over the brick wall. There are things we can do. Just don't expect the brick wall to like poof, disappear. Okay, so what can we do? First, gamification. Make getting over the wall fun. I have a whole video about how to gamify your to-do list that you can check out up here. I highly recommend you check that out. It has some of my favorite tools and strategies in there. The second strategy I recommend for dealing with executive dysfunction is setting a timer. And I know that's really tired advice, but it really does work. Hear me out. I want you to set a timer for 2 minutes. And I want you to tell yourself, I'm just gonna get done as much as I can in 2 minutes. And then when the 2 minutes are over, I'm allowed to be done. And here's where you've probably heard advice that says, yeah, but when the timer goes off, don't stop, keep going, use your momentum. And hey, if you really want to, you can. But if that timer goes off after 2 minutes and you're like, oh, thank goodness, I need to sit down, I'm really done, you have to honor that. Because here's the thing, if you set a timer and tell yourself you can be done when it goes off, and then it goes off, and you want to be done and you don't let yourself stop, you are eroding your own sense of self-trust. You are basically breaking your own promise. You're being a pretty shitty friend to yourself. If you had a friend who, I don't know, really loved archery, and you really don't like archery, you just don't have the muscles for it, and your aim is terrible, you just don't enjoy it very much, right? And this friend was like, let's go do archery this time we hang out, and next time we hang out we can do what you want to do. And you're like, that seems fair, you know, we're friends, we gotta have this reciprocal exchange. So you go with them, you do the archery, you hate it, you come home, and then next week you're like, hey, we should hang out, can we go to a bookstore cafe and like read and drink coffee together? And they're like, no, the only way I'll hang out with you is if we go to archery again. That's not a great friend. And that's exactly what you're doing to yourself when you set these timers and tell yourself you can be done when they're over, and then it's a lie. Okay, the next strategy that you can use for dealing with executive dysfunction and trying to get more done is using your impulsivity to your benefit. Basically, if you see a dish and you're like, oh, I really need to wash that, don't allow yourself to talk yourself out of it. Just like wash the dish real quick. And there's gonna be part of your brain that's like, yeah, but if I wash that dish, then I have to wash all the dishes and I have to unload the dishwasher, and oh, I need to clear off that counter. Don't like engage in that spiral if you can help it. Try to be impulsive with it. Be like, I thought about washing the dish, so I'm gonna wash the dish, and like that's it. And if I happen to wash the other dishes or unload the dishwasher or clear off the counters in addition to washing that dish, great, but if not, that's fine. And finally, something I really recommend every ADHDer do to deal with executive dysfunction is give yourself some self-compassion. You are not a bad, lazy person, I promise you. There's a really great video from Jessica McCabe over at How to ADHD that I'll link in the description about the wall of awful. This is basically where we fail or are criticized so many times over and over that every single critique, every single failure, every single rejection becomes a brick in that brick wall that stands between us and our task. And the only way we're gonna tear down the brick wall is to be nice to ourselves, even when we don't think we deserve it. I know it's cheesy, but self-compassion and self-love make a huge difference. So there you have it. That is executive dysfunction, what it is, and what to do about it. Most ADHDers experience very significant executive dysfunction, myself absolutely included, which is one of the reasons I love the Get Shit Done program, because I am not a naturally organized person trying to teach you to be more like me. I am a chaos gremlin who has learned a lot of tactics and strategies for being chaotic in a way that works with my brain instead of against it. And I really want to teach you those tricks. If you want to join the waitlist for the Get Shit Done program, you can do so in the description, and I will see you all next week.